Right. So now I think I'm recording this, which is one of the reasons why I'm the host, because I have to post this to our webpage. And it will also transcribe it word for word. Let's hope that's what's really happening here.
All right, so no rude comments.
Right.
Can we mute ourselves, Mary?
Yeah.
It's fine with me. I don't care.
Yeah,
Do whatever
you
you want. All right. So is the only board member missing Jim Willis? Just so I get it right in board docs.
So far.
Okay. I think Kathy is going to come in
Later, I think.
You got 15 people now, so.
Okay.
Oh, Kathy's there now. How do I make
Okay.
this better? Okay.
And it does say that it's recording, Mary.
Okay, perfect. All right, so now Frank, I guess you're gonna go from here like you normally do. Yes?
Oh, I think
He was.
I think you're muted.
All right. I don't do anything, right? This is up for,
No.
because it appears he is.
Yeah, Frank, you should have, depending on what device you're using. Oh, I heard you. Oh,
No.
depending on
Mary, I
what
believe
device
as the
you're
host, you can unmute him though.
Yeah.
All right. So hold
Click on his box
Let me see.
and unmute.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Kath.
Kathy.
Frank, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
I don't get an option of unmuting him.
So I sent him the phone number too. He could call into that number and put in the code. And run from a speakerphone.
I
Yeah,
can
but
definitely.
he was on before.
Yeah.
I heard his voice before. I think he's got to unmute
No,
his
he's-
little mic.
Yeah, it's not up on his screen though. I'm wondering if he has to hit video.
If he moves his cursor around, you may be able to see, it may pop up.
We'll give him a minute.
Right.
This ever worked right the first time, it'll be a miracle.
True. All right. Now I have Loretta. Loretta's name appears and she is muted, and
Her
Aaron
video's off.
Krimmel.
Yeah, her
And
video.
Katie?
Yeah, Kathy unmuted herself.
Okay.
Loretta's intentionally not on
Sam
video.
muted. Rachel's muted. Fred's muted.
Okay.
I'm not. Did you want me to sing?
That would be very helpful for me right now. Something soothing though, okay?
I just wanted, if it's going to do the dictation thing, for there to be something useful there, right?
I guess.
Karen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I like the bridge.
Well, I couldn't get the connection to go through on my Chromebook, so I just am doing it from my phone.
Yeah, that was crazy. You sounded like, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, and that's what everyone was sounding like on my end too. But I knew it would work from my phone because I've done it with another meeting last week.
Frank must be reading a manual.
My business officials meeting this morning, Taconic Hills, Sybil, she sounded the exact same way.
Yeah, it said it was a bad connection. And I tried signing out and signing back in, but it didn't help.
Rachel has the right idea with the cup of coffee.
I was kind of gonna go for a glass of wine, but
Actually, we
I have
watched a video
Dr.
at a
Pepper.
Zoom meeting last night, and one of the participants was drinking wine.
I thought about it, but
Oh.
I thought if
Frank's
it's
on the
being
phone
recorded,
again.
it's probably bad
Hold
for
on.
image. Oh, I hear Frank. Is
Frank,
he there?
You're hearing Frank through Dr. Young's phone.
you
Oh.
have to, can you hear me, Frank? Can you hear me? I can't even hear you on your phone.
I can hear him on your phone.
I can't hear him on the phone. He has hung up on me.
Well, at least we all saw him hang up on you.
I do have an unmute all button,
Yes, do that. Try
Okay,
that.
but
try
that
that.
will unmute
It's
all of
calling
you,
again.
correct?
Yes.
That'll unmute everybody, but then everybody can mute themselves.
Okay.
Hey, Frank?
All right, how about now? Can you hear us, Frank? We can't hear you.
Frank, do you know sign language? Oh, he's holding up his computer. We can't see the screen.
Can't see it because the resolution's too bright on the other screen.
What does he have up on his screen?
Yeah, what?
I don't
What
know,
is
but
he
somebody
on?
grab a pencil if it's his credit card number.
He's trying to call in.
Frank, look in the chat box. I sent you something with a phone number and a code.
He can't hear you, I don't think.
Yeah, but he
I
can
don't think he
read.
has that- But he doesn't know
There he
about the
is.
chat box.
How about now, Frank?
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Why do we have two of him? Why do I have two of him?
Yeah.
I have two of them as well.
Can
Because
you
he's
hear?
got
Two
one on video.
devices.
Hey, whatever.
I'm leaving. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, I got another computer here going.
That's a better one.
That's a better one. Let me turn the volume up.
Use the other one as a doorstop.
Yeah, that'll work.
It's a word process.
Well, I had board docs up on that one there, so that's good.
Yep, that's why I'm at school, really, because,
You need two screens.
right. And I couldn't figure out today how to split the laptop screen. So here we are.
So here we are.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get going here in the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. If each board member could say their name, this way we know we've got audio and everyone's ready to go. Rachel,
Rachel Finney.
Jeff,
Jeffrey Payne.
Sherry,
Sherry Bowman Cluck.
Kelly,
Kelly Kashak.
Katie.
Katie Snyder.
Okay, great. So now I've covered up my board docs because it's on the other one. So I'm going to go with, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make the motion, Frank.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie? And I'm a
Yes.
yes. Now we can have public comment. All right, moving along to the consent agenda items. There's one item I'd like to have pulled out, which is the retirement of Dr. Kathy Elaine, and I'd like to make some, on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Dr. Kathy Elaine for her dedicated years of service to the Berlin School District. Over the many years, Kathy has worn many hats, helped the district during its consolidation, and created new programs in the high school, such as School Within a School, Credit Recovery. Kathy created a special student culture that embraced education, even if it was one student at a time. You will be missed. Congratulations for all that you have done. Could I have a motion to accept Kathy's retirement?
Sadly, I'll make the motion.
Oh.
I second it.
No.
Any other discussion or anything else that someone would like to say?
I would just like to say something. When you had mentioned one student at a time, Kathy Elaine was one of the first people that advocated for my son Josh and got him the services that he needed. So I'm just very sad, but very excited for her enjoying her retirement, and just, I don't know, I don't want to get emotional.
Yeah.
But
You're gonna
That's
make us
why I
cry.
already sent my
Stop.
I know, but it's definitely a very personal level there, Kathy.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
agree.
Sherry.
It's
I would
very
just like
And
bittersweet.
I already sent my note, so I'm not going to repeat.
Thank you, Cal.
Yeah, I would just like to thank Dr. Elaine for everything she has inspired in every single student, including myself. I was one of her students back 31 years ago. So
In the day.
thank you, Dr. Elaine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, with all that said,
A lot
Rachel,
of
how do you
people
vote?
crying, I see.
Yes.
Yeah, that just make us cry. Yes.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
I'm just
Thank
saying
you,
yeses.
everyone.
That doesn't mean you can leave the meeting yet.
No, I have a feeling she'll be back.
Okay, under personnel action items, I'd like to pull that separate from the consent agenda items. The rest remaining. So I have CSE recommendations approving the claim audits, 2020, 1920 budget transfers, 2019-20 health service contract, 2021 private school transportations, New York State mutual aid agreement, which I see is new. Could I have a motion on those action items?
I'll
Make
make the
it.
motion.
I'll second.
Okay. The only comments I had is of the mutual aid agreement. That is new. It's got a 30-day termination clause, and it's going to be reviewed yearly. Is there anything else, Stephen, that Questar has downloaded more on that?
No, basically, that's the mutual aid that Questar would provide us in the case of an emergency. Very similar to the ones we have with Hoosick Falls and New Lebanon, renewed annually. So they're basically, we support each other if there is ever some need for mutual aid.
Okay. Does anyone
was-
else have any questions on any of those consent agenda items?
No.
Could I have a motion for them?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. I'll take a motion for personnel action items.
I'll make a motion.
Is there any second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
and I'll abstain. Really, there's nothing to report. We've all been quarantined, so I think everyone's done a fantastic job of delivering the services to the students. I know I've been talking with Stephen, a lot of updates on the educational portion and all of the logistics. So I think everything is going well. I just don't know where we're going to go in the days to come. So I'll turn it over to Stephen to tell us.
Well, my report is basically a thank you report for everybody that's been working through this pandemic. I mean, we really have pulled together as a team, and if it weren't for the wonderful camaraderie and cooperation of administrators, I don't think this district would be in the shape that it's in. I could tell you from meeting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Zoom with all the superintendents, from what I hear, we are probably on the top of most of the issues that have come across, the superintendent's domain. And we're just doing fantastic in terms of keeping the teaching and learning going, as well as delivering those meals. I think Karen was telling me we do like 3,000 meals a week for delivery, and they're just the people that keep the district going, along with the driver delivering those meals. I mean, we're all working together to get through this, and you know, I have to just, you know, I can't thank everyone enough, especially the administrators and the teachers, for going above and beyond their call of duty, so to speak. And of course, you know, I can give you a construction update. I don't know if that comes later on, but I might as well just say it now. The building inside the middle school, high school is like, you know, in total chaos. And if we had kids, you know, we wouldn't be able to get that work done. It's moving right along very quickly on the inside of the building. Classrooms are getting renovated. Rooms are getting renovated. Abatement has been done. They're moving very, very quickly in the schools. At the bus garage, they've already dug for foundations and footings. They've outlined the footprint of the building. They've moved everything off site. They put up fencing. I mean, it's just phenomenal how quickly they can get this stuff done. So we're looking pretty good on those fronts. And the next biggest obstacle we're going to have to overcome is this budget, which you'll be seeing in a few minutes. It's crazy what we're going to have to do if the rumor is true that we have to cut 20% of the state aid. We got a lot of work to do, and that's something that nobody, I don't think, ever anticipated. Over the weekend, of course, it was 50%, the rumor or the wording. Now, yesterday, you know, Governor Cuomo said it looks like 20% state aid is going to be reduced next year. So the presentation you see today, pretty much you can forget about it. I think if we hear otherwise, that we have to reduce another 20%. If that's true, we have to really, I don't know what to, we have to sharpen our pencils for sure, but it's not going to be an easy job to find $2 million in a budget of 20 million. So that's where we stand, and we'll go through that in a few minutes. But it'll change tomorrow. In fact, we'll put our heads together tomorrow and come up with at least a somewhat of a start of a plan if we have to do that. So that's it for my report.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, anything on legislative liaison?
Everything's total confusion. So your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, great. Facilities, Stephen, did you want to mention anything else on facilities?
No, I mean, where, you know, people are coming in on shortened schedules, shortened work schedules. We're trying to get some of the outside work done now, you know, with some of the lawn areas that were damaged during the winter, and Cyril will be working on that with his crew, and you know, that's basically it. I think you know, I don't know if Cyril's probably not online at this point, but maybe I'll check in later. They're moving right along. That's all. I mean, the only thing I could say is one thing: they fixed a leak in the piping at the elementary school. There was a water leak and a steam leak, and I believe both of those got fixed last Thursday. So you're all set for opening the school up that ways.
Dr. Young?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
A couple of weeks ago, we stopped at the high school just to show my husband the track and the field and the new baseball field.
Yeah.
And he stepped onto the baseball field and almost sunk out of sight. So is there a drainage issue there?
If you recall, we said there was a drainage issue back when the grass first started growing. They discovered 2 springs coming out of the hill.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a drainage issue. Everyone's aware of it.
Okay.
Big meeting on Tuesday about it.
Okay.
The architects are dealing with Reifenberg about what to do with that issue, and yeah, we're well aware of it. They're well aware of it.
Okay, I just hadn't heard that discussion because I had missed a couple of meetings, so I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Administrative snapshots, Berlin Elementary, Tracy?
I guess I would reiterate a lot of what Stephen has said. The job has changed completely to what I would normally be reporting on at this time of year. And it's just been about how do we get this remote learning off the ground? What do teachers need? What do students need? How can we support them? The administrative team continues to meet regularly and address needs that come up. And I really feel like we're kind of inventing this as we go and just trying to deal with everything that comes to us. But it's a lot of time on a computer and a whole lot of meetings, and I really miss being with kids. But we're making the most of it.
Well, thank you. Middle school, high school?
Hello, everyone. Like Tracy said, I could say the same thing. It has been a lot of hard work. The nice part is we've gotten a lot of positives back from teachers. It is clear everyone is working very, very diligently to do the best that they possibly can. Students and families are responding well, even in cases where they lack internet. It appears that they're doing their best to help out in whichever way they can. I'm sure many of you heard about it, but we had a lovely time last Thursday evening with the senior class as we shared with them our pride and talked about the students. I'm sorry, I think my volume is really loud. We talked about just the fact that our students are doing so well, our seniors are doing so well. We announced the top 10 in the class, which turned out to be the top 11. Our salutatorian is Selena Beerworth, and then we have co-valedictorians for this year, Jackson Flowers and Kate Lockett. They were a total dead heat for their overall average for 4 years. So there was no splitting it. We're very thrilled for them. We gave them signs that they can put on their front lawn and acknowledge the fact that they're seniors and part of this class. So overall, things are going well. We're all doing the best that we can and appreciate the support.
Thank you. Pupil services?
I think I would just reiterate what everybody else said. This is a crazy time. You know, we get new guidance coming in from, you know, federal and state, you know, about what this means for delivering services to students with disabilities. And all I can really say is that, you know, both our special education staff and really just our staff in general has far exceeded my expectations in the way that they've just really stepped up to the plate and been incredibly flexible as things change almost daily for us. And I'm just grateful that our students are in really good hands.
Thank you. Curriculum instruction, Fred?
So, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record. It's certainly a different time. You know, we've never seen anything like it. Hopefully we'll never see anything like this again. I will say, you know, as Stephen referred to earlier, you know, I go to these network meetings for the CIA Council with Berlin, and I go to the Assistant Superintendent's Network, which is a larger region, all the Capital District, all the way up to Glens Falls. And I think that our planning, our thinking, our consideration of equity, our consideration of how to deliver instruction. We've got one of the better plans out there. I know every single day we have conversations. I have conversations, you know, Sam's having them, everybody else having them with our staff about how to ensure that every student gets every opportunity to succeed, how we support all the kids in this time, both emotionally but also academically. We we have a good plan for third quarter that's going to provide enough depth to our system to allow for validity of grades and value without locking kids out. They can't necessarily get access because of various restrictions, whether it's lack of access to technology or some of the things that are more challenging. Personal relationships at home are not the same for every student. There's an equity issue there that we are always mindful of. We talked today about fourth quarter. We talked yesterday about fourth quarter, how we'll grade, how we think we can do that in an equitable fashion. I'm very proud of our staff. I'm very proud of my colleagues. We have met with the State Education Department and ESSA. We know what that looks like, a suspension of the evaluation process, basically erasing the 2019-2020 school year, starting 2020 and 2021 with the same data that we started last year with. I think that we've got a good team in place. We need to update our plan a little, or both our DSIP as well as our SF plans a bit, so that they are speaking with a little bit more refinement. But we'll bring that committee together. Loretta has, all throughout this year, she's been essential to helping us keep that big picture going while we deal with the on the ground stuff. And I'm looking forward to, I'm really looking forward to September. I miss the heck out of everybody. But I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that come along. This presents such a systemic change, not just in the way we deliver this, but a new principal coming in, a new culture being built and developed, new relationships that we've been building with our staff, understanding with kids who have not been tuned into our school while they were in the building are exceptionally attentive during this time. It's really remarkable. I think we have a lot of opportunity to take advantage of these things that can make everything better in the long run, but even in the short run. So I'm very, very proud. I'm honored to be part of this group as much as I was when I first started. So, I mean, there's a ton to talk about, too much to do in a brief presentation.
Thank you. Karen, buildings, grounds, finance?
I would really just like to acknowledge and thank the my core staff who have done an unbelievable job since the very beginning, that being Tammy Dunlop in getting those devices issued, in coordination with Fred's staff, Tammy Whitman with her cook manager, Heidi Collin, in coordinating the delivery of, like Dr. Young said, 3,000 meals a week. And then Jeanette Alderman, who, if you remember, she only just took over the job at the end of January and has done a bang-up job as far as those deliveries go. So I just want to acknowledge them and thank them for their hard work during this time.
Well, thank you. Okay, we'll move over to Stephen, the budget development.
Okay, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna try and do this share screen. Give me 30 seconds and see if it works. You may get, oh, there it goes. Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
I see it.
Yeah? All right. So we're going to scroll through the majority of the first few slides because, it's the basic stuff about, goals for improvement, the graduation rate, student achievement, chronic absenteeism. Some of this will obviously need to be revised depending on, again, what the state does and what our, based on chronic absenteeism and performance and growth. All of this is out, I think, out the window at this point until we come up with more definitive numbers from this year, if we can. But of course, the budget still includes all the usual stuff. What you're going to see tonight is everything that was originally proposed, plus three or four additional items. But again, we're going to have to look at it differently if we have to cut $2 million. So, you know, all programs that we started years ago are continuing. These are some of the things that are what make Berlin unique, credit recovery and distance learning and school within a school, all of that. The electives that we have, I would put us up against any large high school in New York State. And we have electives that they don't even have. And that's, you know, something that we would have to consider, you know, going forward if we have to change things in terms of the budget. But some of these things that you see on the screen now would all come into play with possible reductions in programs. So the additions that I did mention, and you know, we are looking for that assistant principal athletic director position at the middle school, high school. You know, most of that's going to be covered by retiring individuals. So that's really not an issue when we're not replacing the social studies retirement at this point. Couple other smaller items at the high school is the grade level leaders, grade 10 and combined 11 and 12, team leaders rather, not grade level leaders. Well, I guess they're the same. The musical instruments, we mentioned that last time around that, you know, our instruments have been used for decades, and now they're in needed repair and new purchasing of those individual items. Again, you know, can we make do with another year if we had to? Possibly. We do have a new K-5 literacy program that we want to implement at the elementary level. So that money there that you see is going to purchase the materials, K-5, as well as training for teachers. Then a couple small items at the elementary school include club advisor. Well, I guess they're called clubs, but you know, we have character education and stipends, and a monitor at the elementary school. So the last thing we're looking at is a TA for special education, and then the extended school year program at the district-wide 812 class. Again, this is all up in, you know, for discussion come tomorrow, I think. I did manage to go online and I saw a couple media posts where Cuomo did say we should be looking for, you know, 20% reduction in state aid if the federal government doesn't come through with help. So, you know, a lot of it is dependent on the federal government, and we'll just have to kind of play that by day. So these are the bottom line numbers total. Basically, we're actually seeing a decrease in the budget, which is you might say, how can you have a decrease in the budget? Well, it's a little over $500,000 because if you remember last year, at the very end of last year, we added over $1 million in revenue and expenditures because of a windfall that we got back. We put that into the budget, and now we have to take it away because obviously we don't have that anymore. Well, we have it, but it's not going to be in the budget. So we actually have a reduction in the budget. But with that, there's a severe reduction in revenues, basically at the state level. So the projected state aid, if we remove the pandemic assistance, which is not guaranteed, and we were told basically by state aid planning that you really shouldn't expect that because it's tied to the federal government aid. That was about $143,000. So we took that out and planned without it. So the projected state aid is actually decreasing by about $15,000. So we're getting less aid than we did last year. Even more so, you know, that $143,000 is up in the air. We don't know if we're going to get that or not get that. If we do get it, we'll be in a little bit better shape. But pretty much we were told, try to plan your budget without it. So tonight you will either accept the property tax report that we have to annually do. And that basically tells us how much we can raise taxes by. So that line there is 2.57%. That's the expected increase. The maximum we can increase is 246,000. So that's what we put in the budget. That's the maximum we can do. That's what we're probably going to have to shoot for, given the crisis that we're in right now. We managed to increase revenues for the miscellaneous revenues. I think I reported, I told Frank, or maybe it was at the last board meeting, that we got a couple of refunds that we were not expecting that add up to about 127,000. So we put that in right toward miscellaneous revenue for this year or for next year. And then the next line is the appropriated fund balance. Normally it's about 450,000. Last year was about 1.2 or 1.3 million because we added that extra money in. So the actual fund balance is actually going down. We're not putting in as much as we did last year, but we're still increasing it from the average. Our average over the last few years, not including last year, was 450,000. And that's what's left over at the end of the year, basically. That's what we anticipate being left over, if you want to call it leftover. So that's where we're going to get some additional funds. So the total revenue stream is 21,503,000. So next we'll look at the summary of the expenditures. Ways, 80% of your budget is salaries and benefits. Not any different this year. We're looking at almost $17 million out of a $21 million budget going towards salaries and benefits. Last year, it was about $400,000 less. So we're looking at benefits and salaries at 2.41% increase for everything, including the contractual requirements. Non-personnel items is down 878,000. Again, keep in mind that we had that $1 million or so that we put into the expenditures last year, and we're obviously not using that this year. So it looks like the non-personnel is down, but in reality, it's about the same if you don't count last year. Capital expenses, again, down by about 6%, about $42,000. So the total expenditures are down from budget to budget, and the expenditures equal now the revenue stream. So we have a zero balance at this point. So kind of a summary slide for you. Last year's budget, column 1, this year's budget, column 1, next year's budget, column 2, the change and the percent change. So basically, this slide represents the first 2 slides in terms of revenue, and the next slide will represent is the state aid. A summary of the breakdown in state aid for those of you who follow state aid. Foundation aid is frozen. That's why there's no change in foundation aid. BOCES aid, there's an increase of almost 92,000. Everything else pretty much stays the same. A little bit more in transportation aid, but a building aid went down by 54,000. So, and that bottom line, this is what I was talking about, that pandemic adjustment. That's how much we would have gotten if the federal government chips in the federal CARES portion. Because what Cuomo did, he basically took back the pandemic adjustment and is thinking of using the federal CARES Act adjustment to make up for that pandemic adjustment. So right now, that's why I said it's not there. We don't know how that's going to be divvied up. So that's why that's in parentheses as a negative. So the total state aid is going down by $16,000. These are the miscellaneous revenues that we usually consider. And again, not much. The 121,000 is that extra amount that we got this year, basically. So that's the difference. That's why we're going to have miscellaneous at 465. All right, so the expenses, the last few slides summarizes the benefit of the salaries, the benefits, the required contributions for health insurance, Social Security, workers' comp, retirement system, et cetera, et cetera. So again, personnel, almost $17 million for personnel. Non-personnel, everything that's included in here without the capital improvement, without the capital component. So you're talking about all of the instructional support, BOCES services, transportation, buildings and grounds, insurance, lawyers' fees, BOCES services. That's actually going down 878,000. So the non-personnel, again, because we added last year in both columns, revenue and expenditures, we're still, this year it will be down 878,000 for non-personnel. And lastly, the capital expenses. Capital expenses going down by about $42,000. That includes the debt service and the debt on buses and transfers to other funds. So those are the three main categories that we'll be reporting on. There is you don't have to vote and adopt a budget at this point because it doesn't make sense. And legally, you're really not required to at this point. Some districts are in worse shape than we are. I just read an article in the Albany Times. I don't know how many of you caught that article. Troy School District is $2.6 million already in the hole from state aid, and they're looking at cutting 25 teachers at this point next year. So, and if they get hit with another 20% reduction, it's going to just devastate the urban, the rural school districts. So there's your summary. Everything equals out to zero, and that's it. I mean, there really isn't much that we can do at this point other than wait to see what Governor Cuomo does with state aid. And the worst part of it is, he said he can change the state aid at any time, including, and this is unbelievable. He said he could take back state aid this year. That's in our budget this year.
But
So that's what we're worried about. I'm worried about.
The part I read said he can deduct money every quarter.
Yeah, that's another strategy. Yeah.
Which is,
yeah.
Your budget's totally screwed.
Well, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and get back to the normal screen.
Well, we won't be alone.
There we go. All right, so I don't know if you have questions, maybe we could answer them. I know, Karen's the expert in budget.
Well, there's the one I sent on email.
But that's it.
We may have trouble passing our budget this year because everybody's in a lot of fiscal stress right now. So if they don't pass our budget, nor in a normal year, I know what a contingency is. What would a contingency be this year?
0%.
But 0% is more than we're getting. So that doesn't make any sense.
No, 0% tax. You can't
So
raise
the
taxes.
the tax would be flat?
Yeah, so in other words, we wouldn't be able to raise $257,000. So
Okay.
that would basically come out of the budget.
So
But
that's how that
before
would
you
be
get to
handled.
contingency, I mean, people are they're devastated right now. I mean, again, you're probably right, about voting, but again, we're only looking at 50% plus one. We're not
Mhm.
looking at a super majority. We're not looking at 60%. You need 50% of the voters to say yes, plus one.
Well, I hope we get it.
Well, again, we don't even know how we're voting. That's the other issue.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's going to be a ballot vote, a write-in vote, if they're going to come into school and vote. No, that's all up in the air. Right now, the original day for the budget vote was pushed back to June 2nd. Now it's June 9th, and it might even be after that now.
Also, are you going to waive petitions for board members?
That Frank asked me that today when we had our conversation. I don't know how that works with petitions and board members. I'll have to find out a little bit more. I think I just don't know. I know maybe Mary might know as district clerk, but we haven't really found any definitive answer to that.
Yeah, there's nothing has been put out that is a definite dates. If it's, the last date I had for a vote was June 2nd. So what I've advertised in the newspaper is that ballots would have, or petitions for board members would have to be here by May 4th. That follows I think it's a 30-day mark. That follows the regular timeline if it were held on the regular day, so.
So if that was the case, they should be out there getting signatures right now,
Yes.
which they can't.
Right. But there's nothing has been communicated on that from the governor or anyone else.
We can't. Dr. Young, I have a different question.
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is just a difficult budget, but have you and Karen talked about it at all? If we really have to cut out that $2 million, where we start? And
no, because we haven't. I found that out today.
I was just going to say, does anyone know what our expenses are for what's mandated through the state? We have these items that we offer. What is that part of our budget? Is it,
Never had. So everything that's mandated, we're going to have to pay for.
Right.
Unless they undo the mandates. Basically, we have to give an education to 1st through 12th graders. We don't have to do kindergarten because that's not really mandated.
I think Karen
so
has
1st through 12th grade, we'd have to educate kids for 6 hours and 20 minutes or 900 minutes and 990 minutes for the year. That's it. We don't have to have sports. We don't have to have extracurriculars. We don't have to have transportation. That's another issue. You don't have to have transportation.
Right,
So,
but
I
we
mean,
have special needs children that have services that are required.
you have to have that.
So, I mean, those are items that are mandated.
Yep.
You will actually talk that from the opposite direction.
Can you repeat that? You're totally illegible.
Who was that?
Karen, I could not hear the word you said.
We'll have to go at that from the opposite direction on what is not necessary, such as any of our equipment lines, any new sports uniform. Can you not hear me?
No,
Not
it's getting
enough.
garbled.
Could you send us a list of everything that's not mandatory?
Well, let's wait and see what we really have to do now that we start going in different directions.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like we're jumping the gun here.
No, but I think we
Shut
have
your
to
video off
consider
and we can hear.
the worst
Okay, yeah.
case.
Who's talking?
If Karen's running slow and she shuts her video off, we can hear her better.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit, yeah.
Yep.
It is saying I'm unstable. Go figure.
You must be in one of those bad areas of Grafton. Why don't you put a tower up next to your house?
I was just saying, we'll go at it from the opposite direction as far as what's not necessary and create a list of where we can find money as far as, you know, as things, because if he can take money every quarter next year, we're going to have to find that every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure this will be a hot topic tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock on my Zoom meeting. I'm sure people are going to be panicking, and we'll come out with some kind of list of things that are necessary and things that are not, you know, not necessary. But pretty much, you know, take everything that we have that is good for kids, into non-academic things like music and art and those types of things. You know, sports, like I said, those after the equipment and after, you know, if we can scale down some of the other areas of maybe maintenance and operations, maybe transportation. Again, we don't know. I mean, you're talking $2 million. It's 10% of our budget.
Dr. Young, I would think that what Karen suggested in terms of what we're not mandated to provide, and then in some manner, you know, do a dollar amount that is associated with each of those non-mandates, and then establish a priority list, because if additional funding comes in, it would be easier to then start adding things back in that way. My other question is totally not related to this budget, but is there any conversation about the capital project that we passed but hasn't gone out to bid? Will that be impacted?
New capital projects are impacted. They're right on hold right now.
That's what I wondered.
As far as I know. So new construction is on hold.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it can't be submitted, but they're not going to make any decisions on that. We're not even at that stage yet. We're still at the stage of what do we want to put in to meet that $7.5 million of construction projects. That's been on the back burner at this point. I know Cyril and Karen and I have talked about it, and we got the input from the administrators on what they absolutely would like to have in there. But as far as getting it, the architects have the initial list, and they're kind of waiting for our final couple of items that we'd like to get in.
Okay.
Like maybe the cupola at the elementary school.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move right along. The next item is the tax report card adoption. You've got that in front of you if you want to bring it up. If not, I've got it up. Basically, like Stephen said, it puts us at a percentage that we can raise the taxes. So is there any questions on the tax report card?
Can we change that if things look better?
Karen?
Or are we obligated to stick to that?
Okay,
Kelly,
Karen might have an answer for that.
Kelly, we don't even have good information on when that's due right now. Typically, it is due by April 25th. We haven't gotten an extension date yet. It's backed out from the date of the vote. So most of us are just going with max and submitting it with the understanding that, yes, we should be able to change it later because there just has been no guidance thus far.
Right, and it would only be in taxpayers' favors to go down, so.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I wanted to assume, but I thought I'd ask.
Is there any other questions on the tax cap report card? Could I have a motion for it?
I'll make it.
There's a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The next item is the BOCES elections. Basically, there's 4 board seats, and then there's the administrative budget. So on that, I'll just read the the nomination, the resolves, and I'll just ask for a vote. The first one is resolved for the Board of Education to cast a vote for the election of Miss Mary Daly, Hudson, New York. Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Wait a
Kelly?
second. I'm sorry to interrupt, Frank, but I missed who first and second.
I don't know if we have to do a first and second. These are resolves. There was nothing here in my paperwork to show first and second. It was just to read the resolution and vote. Do you want a first and second?
That's what we've done in the past.
Okay, so we'll back up. For the first one, for Miss Mary Daly, could I have a motion for it?
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made in second. Rachel, how do you vote?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie, and I'm a yes.
Yes.
The next one, could I have a motion for the Board of Elections for Mr. Joseph Garland, Coxsackie?
I'll make the motion.
Oh, I'll second.
Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie, and I'm a yes.
Yes.
Next one is the motion for the Board of Elections for the election of John Hill, excuse me.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie, and
Yes.
I'm a yes. The next one is the resolution for the Board of Elections for the election of Miss Mary Urista, Castleton, New York.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Is there
I'll
a
second.
Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie, and I'm a
Yes.
yes. The last one is the administrative budget for the 2021 fiscal year. Resolved that the Board of Education, the Cooperative Services of Rensselaer, Columbia, and Greene County is authorized to expend the sum set forth in 2021 tentative administrative budget document in the amount of $6,710,997. Number A. Could I have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion, Frank.
Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Rachel, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay.
Okay.
Moving down, the next one is the public hearing for the budget vote. That's out the window. So I don't think we can do anything there. It's scheduled for May 20th, 7 p.m. via Zoom video conference. School's closed till May 15th, so I'm not really sure if school's gonna be open.
Well, that's why it's Zoom.
We can still, I'm sorry, I could still present it to a blank audience, I suppose.
Do we want to contact the libraries and maybe send the notices if people want to go to the, well, they can't go to the library.
They're closed.
Library.
Well, actually,
The libraries are closed.
we'll have to, actually, let's think this out. We'll have to actually have a board meeting to meet prior to that if you want to approve the budget.
Well, I wind up approving the budget. We'll probably have to distance this ourselves all apart, and I think that should be done face to face to finalize it. So everyone can be really comfortable with what they're doing. It's kind of hard electronically here. It's good, but it's kind of hard.
So let's think this out. If the governor comes back by Friday and says, state aid reduction 20%, forget whatever, was originally planned, and he says that's an executive order, then it throws a whole monkey wrench into everything. Because I'm not so sure we can come up with $2 million worth of cuts in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you can, a for sale sign.
Not funny.
It's impossible, but maybe some wisdom will come out of it. Who knows?
So if he cuts the 20%, is that in addition to the possible of the quarterly reductions as well?
Again, his comment was he might do it quarterly. There's no real ruling on that at this point. And then he said something yesterday, you know, I guess maybe it was in Buffalo or somewhere, say expect a 20% cut in state aid for schools
Stephen.
and hospitals. Yeah, who is that, Frank?
That's me. So there's ways that they can get to 20% without across the board 20%. For example, they may force consolidations in some of those schools in the Westchester, in the Orange County,
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
closer
You won't
locations.
do that in a year. You won't
That
do
ain't
that
gonna
in a year.
happen.
We're not
No.
doing a lot of things in a year we are doing a lot
That's
of
not
things.
gonna
in a year
happen.
that we do.
There's just too much political pressure from Westchester and Long Island. They'll never, ever do that in a million years.
I know what the consolidation took in this small district. You're not going to accomplish that in a year. So you've got to
In a
do
year,
something
it's-
with next year's budget.
It's like 2 months, it's not even a year.
Yeah.
This is, you know, I was thinking about this. He has a pot of money still, or we have a pot of money, the Smart Schools Bond Act that the state voted on, if you remember. And we got 985,000, something like that. He could theoretically take the money from there, borrow it, and pay schools to make up his difference. I don't know if he even thought of that, but you know, that's just something, you know, off the top of my head, where
Maybe you
schools
should
could
tell
get
him.
that money. Instead of using it for, you know, broadband and one-on-one computers for kids, use it and give it to us as a regular budget item and let us use it as we have to see fit.
Quite a few years ago, they deferred the TRS and ERS payments for a year, and then they came back to the districts to pay that plus interest. So they may do that too.
Yeah, I think we just have to sit tight for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, so we'll let it ride. I think we'll see what happens. So the regular meeting, there again, May 20th, whether it be do Zoom or public, we'll be doing that. And the budget vote and the election, as you said, Stephen, got moved from the 2nd to the 9th.
Again, not confirmed by anyone, but that was the latest that we heard from the state planning office at Questar. And I don't know if that's a, you know, bona fide date or not, but it's either the 2nd or the 9th.
Okay.
And maybe they'll forego the public hearings. You know, that could come up too. People might say, we can't have public hearings because we can't have people coming into our schools.
Mm-hmm.
They may say, okay, forget the public hearing.
Wow.
They've done things like that before.
And just so everyone's aware, my Board of Elections for the Rensselaer County tells me that if the school vote goes past June 2nd, they will not be able to provide machines. So we will be back to voting by paper ballot.
But why did they give you a reason for that?
Because that's when the primaries are starting for the regular general elections.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's happening either.
That was what my contact told me.
We'll have to see. It's interesting times.
Is there anything else that any board member would like to discuss before we adjourn? If not, I'd like to thank the administrators for being so very flexible in these hard times and delivering the services to the students, and the board for scrutinizing everything. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send myself an email or Stephen. We'll get back to you. And like I said, what's good today is changed tomorrow.
That's the truth. It's true.
So
Stay safe, stay healthy, stay distanced,
Stay sane.
stay
Yeah.
happy, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye. Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Good
Have a
night.
good
Thank you,
evening.
everyone.
safe.
Good night.
Stay healthy.
Bye now.
Bye.
See everyone in the
Bye.
morning.
Okay.
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 Keep us posted.
All right.